Hi everybody, bear with me while I get this started. Okay, so my name's Christian. I'm going to be doing my presentation today on leadership, talking about if leadership is nature or nurture. So I'm going to be looking at if people can be trained or educated in the abilities that are required to be an effective leader, and if those qualities are innate. So to get started, I just want to talk a little bit about what leadership actually is and also nature versus nurture. Being a good supervisor requires more than just fulfilling the tasks necessary to maintaining a healthy and successful work environment. To be a good supervisor, one must be a leader. Leadership is defined by Yuki as an influence which processes involving determination of the group's or organization's objectives, motivating task behavior in pursuit of these objectives, and influencing group maintenance and culture. So, supervisors who are leaders take things a step further by working to inspire, grow, and positively impact the organization that they work within. And then I think we all know quite a bit about nature versus nurture throughout all of our studies that we've received over the years. But nature versus nurture is the debate of if we are who we are because we're born that way, or if we are the way that we are because of the experiences that we have throughout life. So, applying that to leadership, we're asking the question, are people born leaders based on the characteristics that they have as part of their personality? Or can we nurture those characteristics and create good leaders over time through experience? So first I want to talk about different leadership styles that Schulman discusses in our class text. The first leadership style that she talks about is the autocratic leader. So these leaders take responsibility for the group, and they may turn staff members into submissive group participants who act out their feelings through passive resistance or sabotage group decisions by such techniques as failing to implement policies. So the autocratic leader often provides really tight structure. There's no freedom for innovation, no provision for group members to play constructive roles, and no room in the agenda for issues of concern to the staff. Workers clearly perceive this type of group as owned by the supervisor or administrator. The next type of leadership style that Schulman discusses is the laissez-faire approach. I'm going to say that different every time. So the laissez-faire approach makes it seem that the leader is taking on responsibility for the group. No structure is provided. Group members may be overwhelmed, and in fact, they might have as little freedom as their colleagues in groups with autocratic leaders that we just talked about. The laissez-faire leader allows discussion to ramble, provides little direction, and rarely, if ever, makes a demand for work. Although appearing to relinquish control, a group leader who operates in this manner often exercises control in more subtle ways. With a laissez-faire leader, the real decisions on important issues will be made away from the group, and groups that are led by this kind of leader may suffer from depression or express anger toward their passive leader. If they demand that their leaders become more autocratic, that leader merely substitutes a different leadership problem. The laissez-faire approach has even been institutionalized in some settings. Certain agencies, for example, have established team approaches in which collegiality is the key word, in which each participant, including the supervisor, has an equal say in the operation. These leaderless groups often try to solve the problem of autocratic leadership by doing away with the idea of the leader. So the last type of leadership style that Schulman discusses, and these are all laid out for you on pages 264 and 265 of our text. The last style is the democratic leadership. This type of leadership comes closest to the functioning of the supervisor group leader role, but it also lacks the element of external authority. So we're going to talk a bit about internal versus external leaders. This member's authority is derived from the group members. When the members no longer support this leader, effective operation in the role comes to an end. So research on this group leadership has indicated that democratic leadership role, when it is well implemented, offers the best possibilities for involving group members actively in the work of the group. It provides members with a sense of achievement, enhances group morale, and even in the long run gets things done effectively. So sounds pretty good. The major difficulty with this type of leadership, though, is that supervisors don't derive their central authority from the workers. Instead, their authority comes from the agency that hires them, fires them, and holds them accountable. So supervisors aren't internal leaders, they're external leaders with external authority that can both help and hinder their effectiveness. An internal leader or leaders are leaders with functions slightly different from those of the supervisor. The ability of supervisors to lead staff is derived from the workers' acceptance of their leadership, and their authority to lead is externally sanctioned. So that gives you a little bit of an idea about what three leadership styles are applied in the supervision sense, which is what we're looking at in this class, obviously. So how does this tie into the nature versus nurture debate? In my research, I learned about the biological perspective on management. So this basically talks about, because genetics, physiology, and neuroscience jointly affect human behavior, it's important to consider how these factors collectively influence management. So this is basically saying we are born with certain characteristics. Our genetics make us more predisposed to have, for instance, organization skills or communication skills as part of our personality. So the biological perspective on management would say that leadership has to do with nature. You're born a leader. These are characteristics that are innate. The nurture end of this debate comes from the contingency model of leadership. So this model was created in the 1960s by a researcher named Fiedler. He studied personality and characteristics of leaders, and he said that there's no one style of leadership. Effective leadership depends on the situation, and this model supports the idea that leadership can be fostered. So although it's a little bit different than those three leadership styles we were talking about earlier, he's really saying that all of those things can apply depending on the situation. So this supports the idea that leadership can be taught and fostered. Leaders can learn to lead effectively in various situations regardless of their personality or characteristics. So in conclusion, I was able to surmise that leadership really is a combination of nature and nurture. It has a lot to do with the different qualities that are innate. We can definitely emphasize those qualities and become even better leaders, and that learning process might go a little bit more smoothly for us. But you can also learn to be a leader without those innate qualities through training and through studies. Thank you guys so much for listening to me, and I hope you guys have a good day.